we want to solve this equation, and to do so, we're going to use the zero factor property, which says that if you take two numbers like a and b, multiply them together and get 0, then a has to be 0, or b has to be 0, or possibly both. So in our case, we're going to have that 7x minus 4 equals 0, or the 2x plus 5 is 0. Now in this case, the a might be this one right here, the 7x minus 4, and the b might be the 2x plus 5. So we're going to have, this is our a equals 0, and this is the b equals 0. So to solve each equation, what we're going to do over here is we're going to add 4, right? We're going to get 7x minus 4 plus 4 on that side. That's a 0, so we'll get 7x equals 4. Then we're going to divide by 7, so we'll get x equals 4 over 7. And in this side over here, we're going to subtract 5, so we'll get 2x plus 5 minus 5 equals, now subtract 5, 0 minus 5, negative 5. That's a 0, so we'll get 2x equals negative 5, and then we'll divide by 2, so negative 5 over 2. So what we're getting here is 4 over 7, negative 5 over 2. And if you just reflect back to what we did here, to get these numbers, where did they come from? The 4, right, our 4 was the opposite of this, because to solve an equation, we're going to do opposites. Whatever this sign is, we'll do the opposite. So I'm going to change that sign, and then I'm going to divide. This is multiply, so I'll divide. Opposites. Opposite, opposite. So change the sign and divide. And then over here, change the sign, right, because we'll have to subtract. Change the sign and divide. So when you're looking at a problem like this, up here, when it's equal to 0, you can go directly to the answer by doing this. Change the sign, divide. Change the sign, and divide. In this problem, we've got three numbers multiplying together and getting 0, or we've got the 7, the x, and the x minus 2 giving us 0. Everything's factored, it's equal to 0, so we can read off the solution. So the solution here is going to be x equals, now, the 7 has no effect on this, right? I have something times something times something equaling 0. One of them has to be 0, and it's not the 7. The only ones we have to worry about, terms we have to worry about, are the terms with the x's in them. So the 7 has no effect, and then I ask, what's going to make x 0? Well, what's going to make x 0 is 0. And then what's going to make x minus 2 0? So change the sign and divide. Positive 2 over 1 is 2. And this 0, that 0 is coming from here. This is one of those cases where it's so easy it's hard, that I'm asking, what's going to make x 0, 0? What's going to make this 2, 0? 2. Here in this problem, problem 11, we're multiplying the 6, the x squared, the 4x minus 1, and the 5x plus 2 all together, and we're getting 0. So one of these terms has to be 0, at least one. It's not the 6. It could be the x squared. So what's going to make x squared 0? Well, that's going to be 0. So let's claim this. X is equal to 0. And then this term here, change the sign and divide. So we'll get positive 1 over 4. So we'll get 1 over 4 there. And for this term here, change the sign and divide. We'll get negative 2 over 5. So we'll get negative 2 over 5. And there's our solutions. And let's just make a comment here, is that from this x squared, that's really x times x. So we really get a 0 here and a 0 here. So the solutions are really 0, 0, 1/4, negative 2/5. But we don't have to report the 0 twice. We just report it once. So we just report this as 0, 1/4, and negative 2/5. And here in problem number 12, we're going to factor, right? We've got all the terms on one side, 0 on the other, so we're going to factor. So let's set up our two parentheses, anticipating we can actually factor it. Now, don't forget to equal 0. We're starting with an equation, and we have to have an equation all the way through our work. All right, so let's see what we can do here. So how about if we use x and x, and then for the 27, we could try 27 and 1. Now it's not even, so I'll divide by 3 and then triple. So I'm going to get 9 and 3, and that looks good because out of a 9 and a 3, we can get a 6. So let's try that. We'll put in a 9 and the 3. 27 is negative, so these two numbers have opposite signs, and I'm going to put that middle negative sign with the larger of the two products. And my two products are, the inner product is 9x, the outer product is 3x. The inner product's bigger than the outer product, right? 9x bigger than 3x. So let's put the negative with the 9x. So I'll put negative 9 plus 3, and then I'll read off the solutions. So from this term, change the sign and divide. So positive 9 over 1, that's just a 9. And then from this term, change the sign and divide. Negative 3 over 1 is just negative 3. It's quadratic. There's our two solutions.